So it's been a while since the last time. A lot has happened since then. I finished my degree for one thing, but no one really cares about that. In the video before the last one, I promised to show you the process of me faceting a gemstone, so that's what I'm gonna do today. This actually happened like 2 months ago, maybe 3. So I should have edited like a long time ago, but I've been lazy, okay? I've been putting it off. So this is actually not my first stone. I've already cut a bunch of stones. I'm showing some of my collections here. These are not all the stones that I've cut, by the way. I've been busy. I've cut all the stones. It's like citrines, garnets, all kinds of different stones. I even have a gem Instagram, so if you want to check out more of my work, you can check out from here. I haven't logged in, so you can't see all of them, but there's a bunch of posts here already, so you can check those out if you like. There's also a shop link, as I have sold some of the gems already. So the machine that I use, as with the most cheap machines do, came from China. It's this one. It cost about 27,000 yen, which is about $181. And it's not the best machine. I mean, I like it, it's fine, it works, but it's not like the best beginner machine. So I'm gonna show you what I actually recommend if you want to get into this hobby as well. So this is what I actually recommend if you want to start getting into faceting and if you don't have a lot of budget. So this is CutKit by the Gems of Science. They sell these kits. It's currently sold out, but I think they're gonna restock soon. I'm gonna put a link to this in the description if you want to check this out. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I'm not getting any money from this. I actually use their mast, the CutKit mast, and it's kind of essential if you own these machines. These cheap Chinese faceting machines, they have pretty bad mast and the quill and the whole system. So if you want to upgrade, you can get stuff from here. It's really good. It's made in America. I recommend. They also have a bunch of faceting roughs. They are specialized in man-made stuff, so it's not like natural gems. These are like laser ruby, laser garnets kind of stuff. So this is the stone that I will be working with today. It's a topaz that came from Brazil. It has a slight blue tinge to it, but that color is going to disappear once I cut, so it's pretty much a white topaz. And it's a nice chunky sized stone. It has kind of oblong shape, so I think I'm going to cut a rectangle out of this, or baguette shape as they call it. And the thing about topaz is that it has a perfect cleavage, which means it's weak along certain axes of the stone. And the first thing to do when cutting topaz is to figure out the axis of the crystal. You can do that by looking at the surface of the stone. You can kind of tell by the streaks and the shiny parts of the stone. And the next step after figuring out the orientation is to preform the stone. Preforming is basically just grinding the stone by hand into a certain shape, a shape that resembles the final cut of the stone. And in my case, I'm just cutting the top facet, which is called a table, and I'm trying to angle the table facet so that it's facing away slightly from the cleavage plane. And for this stone, I decided to cut the crown side first. The crown is the top side of the gemstone, and the bottom side is called the pavilion. And usually when I cut gems, I tend to cut from the pavilion side, but I decided to cut from the crown on this one for some reason. So I need to polish this table first. So this is the polishing wheel that I use. It's copper with diamond powder as a polishing compound. And I'm doing all of this just by hand for now. I'm just pressing the stone against the lap using my hand. And now that the stone is polished, you can see it inside of the stone. It kind of acts like a window into a stone, which is pretty cool. You can see all the inclusions in the stone this way. So it's finally time to dop this stone. Dopping is basically attaching a stone onto a stick, and you use that stick to basically attach the stone to the machine. And the red stuff you see at the end of the top, that's the topping wax. It's a special kind of wax that you use to stick stone to the stick, kind of like a reusable glue. Here's a whole block of this stuff. It's pretty cheap. You can get these in bulk for a very low price. And I use an alcohol lamp to melt this wax and heat the stone as well. The stone is attached now, as you can see, and I use this little device. It's called the transfer jig. It's used to transfer stone from one side to another, but I use it to align the stone. You can see the flat top on one side, and I'm just pressing against the stone onto the flat top in order to align the table, which will align the stone. And this is what it looks like once the stone is attached to the machine. This is called a quill, the part where the stone goes. You can use the little thingy here to set the angle of the stone. You can also rotate the stone on its rotational axis. And that's basically how you set the angles of each of the facets on the stone. And the first thing I do here is I'm actually cutting the girdle of the stone, which is the side facets of the stone. I have to set the stone to 90 degrees. And here's the little quirk about this machine. It doesn't really go low enough to cut the girdle on the stones. So what I have to do is I have to stack 2 master laps in order to increase the height of the cutting surface. So it's a bit of a quirk that you have to work around on this machine if you have one. And this is how you cut the side facets or the girdle of the stone. And you can see all the girdle facets has been cut. It basically outlines the stone. It sets the shape and the size of the stone. I like to keep the girdles frosted. I think most people prefer them to be polished, but I kind of like the look of the frosted girdle, so I like to keep it this way. And now the angle has been moved down, so I can cut all the crown facets. Here's the first tier of the cut. This is my original design, by the way, this stone. And the top or the crown is going to be a step cut with 2 steps. And you can see the second step cutting in here. Creates kind of like a checkerboard pattern. So now the cutting is done, so I have to polish all these facets. So I'm going back to all the previous angles and going through with the polishing disc to polish all the faces that I've cut. And the laps I use, by the way, I use 600 grit topper lap for the main cutting, and I use the 3000 topper lap for the pre-polish, and also a bit of cutting for smaller stones. And then I use the copper disc with 0.5 micron diamond polish. I'm gonna put the links to all the accessories that I use for this machine, if you want to buy the same thing. Anyway, now the stone is completely polished, so I have to cut the other side of the stone. And to do that, I have to flip the stone. It's called a transfer. And I tend to do this by just eyeballing it. So I'm gonna heat up the wax, loosen the stone, and then flip the stone, reattach, and I just do everything by hand and eye. And it works, usually. And now I'm cutting the pavilion side of the stone, which is the bottom side. And it's the same sequence, just 600 grit to cut all the main facets, then using the 3000 to pre-polish and cut more minor facets. And after all the facets are cut and pre-polished, I just use the polishing disc and do the final polish. And I like this stage because it starts to look more and more like a finished gemstone. And after all the cutting and polishing, the stone is now heated off the top using the alcohol lamp. And this is what it looks like when it's fresh off the top. It still has some wax attached to it, which I need to clean off. And this is the finished result. It's not as impressive as I thought it would be, but well, this is old design by me. I only cut this once, I think. Well, actually cut twice. The other stone that I cut this design actually shattered while cutting, so this is the first complete stone with this design, and I don't really like it, so I don't think I'm gonna cut this design again in the future, but yeah, that's the finished stone. And I have cut nicer stones in the past and in the future. This was a while ago, so I've cut a few gems since then. As you can see, these are quite nice. Some of them are my designs, some of them are other people's designs. But yeah, I've been cutting a lot of gems. It's nice garnet. You can check them out on the Instagram if you want. And that's gonna be it for this video.